no shock and awe here. We all know that we've seen it all unfold, firsthand in the past year and a half. People calling for Jews to be killed in the wake of October 7th. Of course, hitting a peak in 2023 after the massacre. So what did you expect to find when you did the study, and were you surprised at the results?
Well, I think what we expected to find was that there would be somewhat of a more constant rise throughout 2024. But what we ended up finding was that this huge wave, this tsunami of anti-Semitic incidents really peaked right in the immediate aftermath of October 7th. And then throughout 2024, steadily declined. Now, the overall rates remained higher than prior to October 7th. But nevertheless, if there were, say, 1,000 incidents recorded in October 2023, there were maybe 400 incidents recorded in October of 2024. Still way too high, but nevertheless a decline.
Right. But also when we're talking about these incidents, these are specific incidents, but of course, protests and anti-Israel, encampments, everything still continues. So the study doesn't take those incidents into account, correct?
Correct, because those aren't necessarily anti-Semitic incidents. If there was something that came out of those protests that was recorded by police or by relevant organizations in each country, then of course those numbers are included. But just the number of protests or things like that in general are not part of this report.
Also concluding that, of course, the incidents, as we know, also has hit a fever pitch. We're seeing news out of so many countries that maybe pre-October 7th we weren't so aware of. Maybe it was more localized. But we're seeing a lot out of Australia, of course, the U.S., Canada, and beyond. Was that shocking?
Australia was the most shocking that we saw. Australia is widely perceived as this tolerant, accepting country, has this reputation. Yet the number of incidents were 3 times as high in 2024 as they were in 2022. So really an explosion, and the types of incidents, the violence, the vandalism against synagogues, against Jewish people, attacks, was really shocking. We saw similar shocking numbers in Italy, which doubled their totals. So those 2 countries really stood out in the report this year.
Now, when you guys do this report on a regular, basis, annual basis, what is done from that research? Like, how is that used moving forward?
We hope that this research, our research, is used by, organizations, police departments, decision makers, to better create and craft policy to combat anti-Semitism. Our efforts are designed to educate law enforcement, government personnel, and others to identify anti-Semitism, what an anti-Semitic incident might be or look like, so that they can better enforce laws that are on the books or craft laws that can attack this problem.
But we're seeing, some places obviously crafting those laws, but some places, not so effective in combating it. Like I said before, like what we've seen on universities. I mean, now they are, seeing the consequences. And we also know from speaking to people, in Australia, it's hard to get the governments of some of these countries to actually recognize these security needs. That's another issue to deal with.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on a number of different points. When it comes to, campus issues, there are laws on the books, both, in terms of the United States, laws regarding anti-discrimination on the basis of religion, race, and ethnicity that universities are required to comply with. And universities simply didn't enforce their own codes of conduct or their compliance with these laws in the U.S. When it comes to law enforcement, we recognize that they face a number of challenges. There's lack of evidence, there's difficulty identifying suspects. Not all anti-Semitic hate crimes or hate crimes in general produce a trail of evidence. And if you can't identify a suspect, you can't make an arrest, and let alone prosecute and punish. So there is also the issue of political will. And in Australia, there's a lack of political will from the current government to to come up with a solution.
Right, or to a lot of people, like we were saying, are able to do it without punitive measures, given if they're wearing masks or whatnot. I do know from friends, for example, in the Melbourne Jewish community, they're having to pay money out of their own pocket to have private security because the government is not making it any easier. I imagine other communities are having to resort to the same measures.
Yes, I mean the community security organizations are definitely working very hard. Efforts to fund community service organizations and security organizations have increased as well.